Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, what we're going to talk about on this episode of the Bullet Points is the new temporary restraining order, the block, if you will, that the New York state judge just gave New York State Kathy Hochul and her gun-controlling legislation around their new concealed carry laws. I wanted to cover this so bad yesterday when this was released, but I was traveling with family, and I tried everything I could, but I could not get a video out. But fear not, we're going to cover it in depth right now as we look at the way that Politico is gently handing it to their readers on the left about the fact that they're still unconstitutional. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor, STI, and then we're going to hit it. And again, I cannot wait to hear your responses. Now, I know a lot of you out there like to repair and upgrade your own guns. If you're looking for a way to take your hobby to the next level, Sonoran Desert Institute can help. The online programs at STI cover armor courses, gunsmithing, ballistics, woodworking and finishes, shooting, sports management, and more. Plus, all the tools and materials are shipped directly to your door. There's never been a better time to jump into something you could actually use for a career, so what are you waiting for? There's a link in the description box below, and thank you so much to STI for making the videos this week possible. But my brothers and sisters, one of the things that I want to really emphasize and stress on here is in the quest for us to pass on the blessing of the Second Amendment to the next generation, we've got to fight. We have to grind. The infringements are going to continue to come. These people are zealots. They're going to infringe on our rights if we let them. And GOA did a phenomenal job leading this lawsuit. They came through, and the judge, a New York judge, has said, guys, you replaced one subjective thing with another subjective thing. This is not a good look, and that's what we're about to walk through. We've got the energy on our side. Do not give up. We are going to pass this bad boy along, but let's check out what Politico is doing here. Federal judge blocks key provisions of New York's new gun control laws. A new state licensing rule remains too subjective, the judge said. This is actually a pretty decent ruling. I was driving and I was begging Jared from Guns and Gadgets and Anthony from Armed Scholar, please tell me all the details because I was missing it, but this is pretty solid. New York, this came out today. This is from the Politico. A federal judge temporarily blocked significant portions of New York's new gun control laws on Thursday. That's right, he did. He hit all the goodies. The decision presents a major setback for Governor Kathy Hochul and city and state Democratic lawmakers who championed the new efforts after a U.S. Supreme Court decision this summer overturned restrictive local gun licensing requirements. How do you couch something that didn't happen in a flowery language like that? What happened was the Supreme Court took the New York concealed carry laws to town in the Bruin decision, and as a result, in resistance and kind of pouting in the corner, the governor and the New York legislature did an emergency session and passed even more subjective laws, basically daring the court system to call them on it. Well, they just got called on it. Now, the translation here and the important part is this is going to filter across all the other gun control states the exact same way that New York did it. New Jersey, California, Illinois, they are running out of doors to run through to infringe. They're still going to try, but we sure are making it difficult. But let's continue. In a 53-page order, U.S. District Court Judge Glenn Sotheby paused a requirement that concealed carry applicants prove good moral character, which I find highly ironic since everyone has their own truth. How do you define what moral character is? And submit years of social media for review. He also blocked implementation of some gun-free zones, including city subways and Times Square, established under the new measure. So we're just going to camp there for a quick second. There's two things that are crucially important. Times Square, that's a big one because they made a sensitive place out of nothing. It was magic. It was like, poof, now it's sensitive. They did the same thing with all businesses. They drastically overextended the idea of a sensitive place in order to achieve more gun control. That's the first thing that got smacked. The other thing here, city subways. This one has a lot of ramifications. If you've watched the videos for the past 3 weeks, you may remember a video that we did around DC trying to get the subways to be considered sensitive places, not because they were a sensitive place, but because they took the people that went to sensitive places in their train cars. So like schools, they took students on the train to schools, therefore, because the students were in the train should be a sensitive place. They took government employees to government buildings, therefore the train should be a sensitive place. This TRO is going to really get in the way of that argument, specifically since it actually says subways. It's important. In June, the Supreme Court said a prior licensing regime which required applicants prove a need for self-protection was too subjective. Yeah, it was. Sotheby said in an order that the new good moral character requirement passed in response was no better. It merely replaced one subjective requirement with another by retaining and even expanded the open-ended discretion afforded to its licensing officers. He actually wrote that very, very well. That's exactly what happened. They went from too subjective to more subjective. That's not going to work, no matter how... withdrawn. Let's keep going. The ruling temporarily blocked several gun-free zones created under the new law, but left in place restrictions on some locations, including schools, courts, and polling places, which are historically and traditionally gun-free zones. That is something that was alluded to in the Bruin decision that said, if there's history, text, and tradition, then we're good. That's what it said. Those would be those places. That's where they got in trouble. They added all these other institutions and businesses and transportation into sensitive places, specifically like they were told not to in the Bruin decision. And this is what happens. You get a little embarrassed. But let's keep going. Governor Kathy Hochul, who has made strengthening gun laws a campaign issue heading into a November election against GOP Lee Zeldin, called it deeply disappointing that the judge wants to limit my ability to keep New Yorkers safe and to prevent more senseless gun violence. It's not about you, boo-boo. This is about the constitutional restraints that are put on government officials because you cannot infringe upon rights, no matter how good your intentions. The road to hell is paved with those bad boys. That's why we have the checks on power in our government, so that the good intentions or the needs of the few or less than the needs of the many, little historical reference there for you, are curtailed. That's incredibly important, and it's not about my desire. That, by the way, signs of a tyrant right there. Quote, the Concealed Carry Improvement Act was carefully crafted to put in place common sense restrictions around concealed carry permits, she said in the statement. My favorite part. The judge did not agree. It's not about common sense because, again, common sense would be subjective. Common sense to me is a little bit different than common sense to Kathy Hochul. In a world of gray, they sure like to live in black and white, don't they? Let's continue. One more thing. This is about the time frames involved. Sotheby's order granted a longer than usual TRO, quote, based on strong showing made by plaintiffs and defendants' unpersuasive response. The TRO lasts until October 20th, by which time Sotheby intends to hold a hearing considering a longer injunction. The judge did, however, stay his order by 3 days, giving the state time to ask the Second Circuit Court of Appeals to step in, the order says. The state's absolutely going to pursue that avenue, and we're working our way up the ladder. The important thing here is the only reason that this judge would give a TRO or a injunction or block this move is because it's so dramatically bad, according to the Bruin decision and according to new law, like the basic laws. This is a good win for us. We're going to keep on trucking, and I cannot wait to go down this road with you guys more, and let me know what you think in the comments field below. I'm Braden. See you later.